I gotta hit the beat. I gotta hit the beat, beat. I gotta hit the beat. I gotta hit the beat, beat. I gotta hit the beat. I gotta I got it. Pop that bottle, it's over. It's the end of October. Champagne on my shoulder. This is my exposure. Pop that bottle, it's over. It's the end of October. Champagne on my shoulder. This is my exposure. Pop that all night long, but the feeling keeps kicking in. Beef with all the girls, bullshit dripping off the chin. All night long, but the feeling keeps kicking in. Beef with all the girls, bullshit dripping off the chin. I gotta hit the beat, beat. I gotta hit the
You drop this. Yeah. Like they're bringing anything to the table. Bro, I'm not your son, see I'm able. I do my own bits. Limited edition, no some missing classic shit. I know that you're feeling it. Feel mad, cold nights feel heavy. Same place, going in the heart of the city. Nitty gritty feels iffy and the eyes feel shifty. The shit we're in, yo, it's all mad risky.
all night long, but the feeling keeps kicking in. Beef with all the girls, bullshit dripping off the chin. All night long, but the feeling keeps kicking in. Beef with all the girls, bullshit dripping off the chin. I gotta hit the beat, beat. I gotta hit the beat, beat. I gotta hit the beat, beat. I gotta hit the
Woo! I'm just excited to have real music finally with my streams. It's thrilling, isn't it? Hello, welcome. I'm just now looking at my hair after fixing it without a mirror, which is always a great idea if you're about to go live on the internet. Fix your hair blindly and hope for the best. Thanks for tuning in. We started a little bit later, but I like this, and I'm actually doing it again next week later. Let me just get right out of the shot. So I'm like this. This is my Fisher store t-shirt, Fisher, Texas. It's not even really a store. It's more of a museum dedicated to the town of Fisher, which is a tiny little fleck on the map. Hey, we can start. I can see AJ's video now. So this is exciting. Oh, AJ is the guest, if you didn't see that in the pre-show video. So I'm doing something different. I think I've figured out a format. Oh God, I have to open it. Hang on, where is it? Gotta get my notes out, notes out, notes out. That's right, I have notes. I took notes. I'm prepared. I had a plan. Things are happening. So I'm gonna pull the audio from this and I'm gonna turn it into a podcast series so that you can listen to the podcast while watching a movie. And it will be like watching a podcast. No. Yes, it will be watching a podcast while listening to a movie. Backwards. So it's going to be a little bit weird. I'm going to bring AJ on and then I'm going to count down to play the movie and we'll hit play together. It's going to be weird. We're going to like reset and then start it again, essentially, because the idea is the podcast recording. When you hit play on the podcast, you'll hit play on the movie. And that way the timestamp on the podcast will always match the timestamp on the movie. That, because I was like, I don't know how to sync that up. Like, that's going to be a pain in the ass to be like, we can do 3, 2, 1 play. But then if there's an ad break, then what the hell are you supposed to do? And it just complicates everything. Anyway, my guest today, I'll introduce her when we do the start of the podcast, but I want to bring her on and then we'll figure out how to make sure everyone can find the movie. Hassani, do you want to find some links of where people can rent Bert, thanks for subscribing. Where people can rent the movie online. It's on Amazon Prime. You can get it for $3. You can watch it on YouTube for $4, iTunes for $4, Google Play for $4, Apple TV for $4. Actually, look, watch. We'll just do this. I'll drop that link, that long, ugly Google link. And you can click that and it'll show you the places where you can watch it and you can decide. So go ahead and pull that up, get that ready if you want to watch the movie along with us. If you've seen the movie or you haven't seen the movie and you're like, I don't care, I just want to listen to the conversation, that's fine. You're allowed. You can do this however you like. Okay. I think things are happening. I think we're going. Oh no, I don't want that. Mute. Okay. All right, great. Let's bring on AJ. AJ Edmonds is here. Surprise. I just was like, get in here, you. AJ's a filmmaker. She's a dear friend of mine. We met virtually through the internet because, you know, that's friendships work now. You just become friends on the internet and it's
yeah.
How are you? How was your meeting? Was it very productive and awesome?
It was. No, it was. And then at 8:55, I was like, girl, don't be late. So I signed in, typed my name in, and then I sat there. And I was like, what's happening? Because I thought I was here on time. And I'm like, she's not letting me in. She must be dead. That's the first go-to. It's like, we had a conversation that this was happening. I was like, well, pulse check.
I've been like writing and revising this essay about death anxiety because they're like, that's a real thing. And like, there are people that they have death anxiety in the form of like, if somebody doesn't answer the phone when you call, they're like, you're probably dead. And you have to kind of like stop yourself and be like, is that realistic? No, probably not. Okay, it's fine. Yeah. I have it in the form of like, I'm constantly looking for ways that I might die, right? Like, I'm like, I have a water there and then I have a light there. And so if somehow those combined, that could start a fire and that would be terrible.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's just, anyway, yeah, that's funny that you said that because I was like, no, that's real. A lot of people feel that way.
No, I know. And trust, okay, little anecdote before we launch into this.
Yes, please.
I work in production.
Okay.
Call sheets go out. People tell me they get the call sheet. I had a shoot day, very busy, top of the day. One of my crew members doesn't show up. And I'm like, this guy, what a jerk. He doesn't show up, doesn't call me, not even answering his phone. I've called him 100 times. Not even answering his phone. Left me high and dry. I didn't have a replacement. So I was up a creek. Immediately I was like, what a jackass.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that to people. 6 days later, I received an email from this guy who, before this event, I thought it was like the bee's knees. And I'll give a little spoiler. I still think he's the bee's knees. So he got shot the night before our shoot.
With a gun?
Just so I know what else in your mind, if when I say someone got shot, what else would come to mind? Just so I know when I tell this story next.
What the fuck? He got shot?
Yeah, his car got jacked. And,
oh my God.
And someone shot him in the stomach. And the thing I appreciate
shot with an arrow, as Hassani says.
Or a crossbow. Yeah. Many
yep.
things. There are many weapons. But yeah, he had been shot in a carjacking in downtown Toronto. And I'm pretty sure he was put into a medically induced coma. And while sitting in the hospital bed, he made sure to send me an email to be like, oh, FYI, so sorry. Like,
oh.
So I hire him all the time. But when someone doesn't show up to set, yes, my first thought is something's very wrong. Not you're afraid.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm glad that the story wasn't like that he just straight up died.
No,
like at least there's like a relatively
it spun around. Yeah.
The trajectory wasn't all bad.
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Anyways, I made it, even though I forgot to hit the enter broadcast for 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I didn't see you till you were perfectly on time. In my book, you nailed it. Hit the nail on the head.
Good.
Yeah, Hassani's with me. He thinks it was a he died story. Like, I love to start the podcast, this episode off with, just sad, tragic stories.
But it's not. It has a good story. It's an upswing.
Yeah. It was wonderful. Okay, so this is wonky and weird because I'm still getting used to this and figuring out how the hell this thing works. So, we've got like 1,000 people watching. No, we don't. So this is very high stakes content that we've got going on here. Oh wait, hang on. Let's see if we can recruit some of our mutual friends to join. Why won't it won't let me tag people on Facebook? Winnie Wong. I can't do it. Well, that's obnoxious. Okay, well, hopefully they find it and they come and join us. So we are going to, I'm going to bring on the timestamp.
Bring it on.
AJ, do you have your movie ready to go?
Oh, I'm queued up. I'm at 2 seconds in though, so I better smarten up here. Now
that's fine. You can just watch that timestamp and just write on too. Nail it. This is obnoxious. I feel ridiculous. It's okay. Everything is great. All right. So we're going to count down. We're going to go 3, 2, 1, and then hit play on 0, except for AJ, who's going to wait until -2 to hit play. And then I'm going to do a weird introduction after we've already started, because that's going to be if you're watching live, you're in the live studio audience of what is going to be a podcast once I edit and pick a name and upload and do all that other fun logistical stuff. Okay. Killing it, dead, killing it. All right, I gotta get all my ducks in a row. Dinglebur is scared. Sorry, Dinglebur. Don't be afraid. Well, actually be afraid. We're watching Labyrinth. It's going to be kind of terrifying, but not.
There's nothing terrifying. This is a children's movie.
Yeah, but it's like, it's terrifying for, I don't know. There's a lot about it that's terrifying. It's fine. It's not a scary movie. It's a children's movie, but it's a movie that I would have been terrified to watch as a child.
Meanwhile, I was like, this is my movie as a child. I was like, I get it. this is where I live. So
That's amazing. Okay. All right. So we're going to get ready. Do I have this queued up? Do I have everything I need? I do. Okay. Deep breath, everybody. And by we, I mean me. I tend to get real anxious. So I need to just take a moment to be like, and then just be comfortable. That's what we're all here for. Okay, great. Let's hit play in 3, 2, 1, play. Hello, and welcome to the podcast that at the time of this recording does not have a name. This podcast is meant to be played while watching the movie we are talking about. Hit play on the movie the same time you hit play on the podcast. The timestamp on the movie and the podcast should sync up. My name is Rebecca Marquardt. I'm a writer, performer, and director. I like to say I'm based in New York, but I'm actually in Austin because #COVID. Today we are watching the 1986 flop-turned-cult classic Labyrinth, starring David Bowie. My guest is a fabulous filmmaker, actor, and I'm going to add educator because she and her film collaborators created Pocket Film School, which is like a masterclass type program where you can take video classes at your own speed that teach you everything you need to know to make a film. Please welcome AJ Edmonds.
oh hi.
Da, da, da. Yeah.
Ooh. Take that
Wild.
person out. Hi.
Hello.
I'm doing a pose because I forget that it's podcast. And I'm like, if I make my face look nice, people will like me more on the podcast.
Definitely. Well, you gotta sell it for the live stream audience, in our live studio audience.
Yeah.
We're really here for them. The podcast is just like a bonus that people can enjoy if they choose to.
And they will.
Oh, the bulge. We're already off to a great start. Okay, so AJ, let's just dive right in. You wanted Labyrinth. Like, I was like, do you want to come and do this thing where we watch a movie and we talk about it and talk about movies? And if so, what would you want? And you were like, Labyrinth. Like, I didn't even finish the question.
No.
And you knew the answer.
This is always my go-to. It always is. Because most people haven't seen it. And I think that is a true, I feel like you've been robbed of a childhood experience. Like, that's how I feel about this movie. Like, if you didn't watch this as like a preteen, there's a big part of you that didn't get to develop. So, like I'm trying to get back.
Raised by wolves in the woods. Are
there
wolves in the woods? I don't know. That
some wolves. I mean, maybe in cold woods. Yeah.
The wood wolves. Okay, so what happened in young little baby AJ's mind when this movie started and you were like, what is going on? Like, what changed fundamentally in your life? Because I feel like you can't see this as a kid and not be changed.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a musical theater kid. And I've always been a huge Muppets fan. So those two things like sort of married together. As soon as someone was like, oh, have you ever seen that movie that Jim Henson directed? And I was like, what? So that was my first, I was like, I will watch Jim Henson do anything because Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy. I mean, you can't argue with that logic. And so I was introduced to it probably at 12 or 13 as a Jim Henson musical. I was like, say no more.
Have you, okay, I have not researched The Dark Crystal, but have you seen that?
No.
Because it's like, it's not a prequel, but it's like very similar in themes and stuff from what I've read.
Here's my thing about great movies. I don't need to see prequels or sequels or trequels. That's and you know what I mean?
A prequel, I think.
Threequel.
Yeah.
Because the first one was so good and I'm always afraid it's going to take away.
Yeah.
So I don't usually go and watch the second of a movie because I'm like, it's just going to steal from the charm of this insanity that we're watching.
Yeah.
Like,
It's, I appreciate when, like, especially television series, when they call it, when it's like, that's the story. Don't beat a dead horse. You did it. It was beautiful. Now go make something completely different.
I'm a big fan of the limited series environment where they know where their story ends, and there's no need to exhaust it. We have up in Canada, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this show called Degrassi.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yes, it was one that seemed to have crossed all borders. I never quite knew why we needed all of the Degrassis. Like, I was in that camp. I was like, I'll watch the original one. And keep in mind, I wasn't watching TV in the 80s. I wasn't even a thought. But I did watch it in the 90s. And then there's like junior high. And then the next generation. I was like, I'm good. They could have made this a limited series. I get it. High School's a pain.
Tapped out. Yeah, that was Saved by the Bell did like the college spinoff. And I was like,
yeah, it's okay.
No. The whole thing is that they're in high school and they're like Saved by the Bell is like being late for class because there's a bell. There's no bell at college.
Yeah.
The whole thing is not.
No, just a fire bell that the drunk guy pulls midway through first period. Okay, here's what I do have time for, though. Okay, crossovers. I live for when TV shows cross. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl both had independent episodes in different seasons where the the New Girl cast went to LA for something, to New York for something. Yeah. And while they were there, Jess ends up in the back of Andy Samberg's vehicle because her car breaks down.
Huh.
I live for crossovers.
That's awesome.
I know.
Those are great. And they're great for marketing purposes, right? Like Station 19 is like the Shondaland firefighter thing. And it branched off of Grey's Anatomy, right? They took a character from Grey's Anatomy and they just made him like the new firefighter at this fire department.
Oh, really? And so
it just followed him over. But like I became obsessed with that show because there was like the crossover right before it officially launched, and then it launched and it had this one. Oh God, what is her name? I'm gonna Google it because I can't remember her name.
Well, Private Practice is that also, isn't it? It came out of Grey's Anatomy where
it was Grey's Anatomy, and then that veered off into Private Practice, and then Private Practice ended. So then some of those actors came back to Grey's Anatomy because like you got to get that paycheck.
Yeah, you got to work it.
Yeah. Okay, cast. This is what I want. God, what is her name? There it is. Barrett Doss. Barrett Doss is one of the firefighters in Station 19, and I adore her. Oh, Lizzie, thank you for subscribing on my Twitch. She starred on Broadway in the show Groundhog Day, and she was the Rita character, and she was just so charming and delightful and like didn't put up with his shit, but also was charmed by him once he started to not be an asshole. And like she was just so good, and she can belt her face off. And so when I saw she was in Station 19, I was like, I have to watch. And so it was weird because it was a crossover that then like segued into this whole other show, and that crossover brought a lot of the audience to it. And then it was like this whole beautiful story. And then there was another crossover, and then I was like, and that's it. It's done now. And I haven't watched another episode since then, even though I loved it, because it was like, nope, I just needed that to come full circle, and now I'm done. I was like, wait, no, but that's not, I don't know. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful show.
It's so nice. Never seen it.
Yeah.
Never seen it. Now listen, the scene we're watching, this is true. How did they get that kid to wail?
Right? Okay, so do you know about this child?
No.
This baby. So his actual name is Toby. So, okay, let me find in my notes. Where is it? So Toby, the entire series is based on drawings made by... No, I have it here somewhere. This is great for the people who are listening in real time in a podcast only. And I'm just like, I don't know where my notes are. I took too many notes. So now I can find the things that I need. Next time I take notes, I'm going to put timestamps on the notes. So this guy was known for drawings, right? He drew goblins. He was kind of like the go-to guy that drew goblins. Everyone was like, his way of drawing them, that is what a goblin is. And big plot point happening. Hassani is like, could you pay attention to the film? Yes. Okay. I love the dopey goblin in the closet is just like classic comic relief.
Oh, all of these goblins are amazing. Like the second movie that would have come out of my mouth after this one was about to be Despicable Me. Because just for a second, I saw this like freckle of judgment in your eyebrows. Here's the thing.
I was trying to remember what Despicable Me was. I was like, is that
it's the one with the little yellow minions?
Yes,
That's in the top some of my favorite movies because I'm obsessed with characters that like are like stuffed animals or like minions that are what are minions, you know? I love that.
When I first saw I said the wrong word. When I saw the goblins in the closet, I thought of Gremlins, which had come out 2 years earlier. So I was like, oh, which one came first?
Did you have
I found my correct note. Brian Froud is known for conceptual designs. And so he drew all these goblins and everyone was like, that's the guy that draws goblins and we know his stuff. And so he came together with Jim Henson and they sort of developed this world. And then the script was written by one of the guys from Monty Python. And then like 10 other people did revisions on it. And then it went back to the guy from Monty Python. He's the only one credited as the writer. But the baby is actually a baby named Toby, who is the baby of Brian Froud, who did all the conceptual designs. So there's some fun other trivia. But Toby's parents met on the set of Dark Crystal because Brian Froud also did the conceptual drawings for that. And the mother-to-be was a puppet fabricator for that movie. Wow. So they fell in love on that movie, got married, had a baby, and then their baby was in this movie.
I just still want to know how they got that kid to cry so profusely. You know?
There was like one little thing of trivia that was like, yeah, actually the baby wasn't afraid of the goblins at all. He was totally amused by them. So they would film the scenes with all of the goblins in the room and then they would just wait until the baby was tired or hungry and then record. It's like, oh, you just like
really wait for them to. Yeah, no, you stay in there. You stay hungry. Stay hungry, Toby. We have a shot. That's the most filmmaker thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like, we have a shot. And I mean, it would be inappropriate to like poke the kid. So we're just going to wait to starve him and see what happens. The camera's ready.
There'd be a great parallel if it was a baby girl and it was like, honey, if you want to make it in Hollywood, you don't get to eat. Yeah. Sorry. That's just how it works.
Start crying. Tears work. You know, tears work. I wonder what happened to Toby. I wonder if he went into film.
He became a puppeteer.
Honestly.
Uh-huh.
What a job.
Back.
Oh, here's David. Look at the Goblin King in all of his mullet glory. And
it's such a weird, it's not even like a mullet. It's whatever a mullet would be where it's short on top and long on bottom.
Listen, this is like a Karen in the Deep South.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, I need to see the manager because I'm having a tailgate party in the parking lot. That's what this hairstyle says to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the powder blue eyeshadow. That's just straight back to like 6th grade.
He did an interview about this movie and his eyebrows looked identical. Like, was that just his style of eyebrow for like a decade or like for some period of time? Or was he just like really committed to the style for the sake of promoting the film?
Maybe he was method. You know?
Maybe. He's like, I really am the Goblin King.
I am the Goblin King. You know? Oh, bless Jennifer Connelly and her sweet face.
I know.
Ugh, snakes. Pass.
Yeah, no thank you.
I don't need to see snakes in movies. I don't need to see snakes, period. They're suspicious. They point one way and they move another.
Did I tell you about when there were rattlesnakes at my mother's house? Yeah. I was at her house and then I just hear gunshots outside and I was like, what is going on? And I go peek and my mom is out there in like a nightgown and slippers and she's just got her handgun. She's shooting at the ground. And I get closer and there's a rattlesnake like 5 feet away from her. And I was like, what are you doing? So I had to go run and she couldn't shoot it from 5 feet away, which is amazing. Even she was like, that's bad. But
is that why she has a gun? It's more of a rattlesnake situation than anything else. Oh, wow. Thank you.
I don't know. It's probably a general self-defense thing, but yeah, there's definitely like there's wild boars out where she lives, and like
I would
like
I sit on the side of, I don't know why the NRA exists, not to make this political, but if I didn't own a gun, the only reason for it would be snakes. Because listen.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's hard to shoot snakes because they're very skinny. It's interesting because I was at my mom's house for a while when there was nobody there. She was staying with my niece and nephew, and it was terrifying because at night, like we're out in the middle of nowhere. It was like if somebody broke in, I would just be screwed. Like, I'm in my apartment here. If somebody broke in, I'd scream and like 4 neighbors would be like, shut up. And they'd come beat on my door and be like, why are you making so much noise? But if I'm at her place, it's like, there's no, and I was like, it just like flickered in my mind that I was like, I could get her gun. And I was immediately like, no, absolutely. Like, that's how I die is because
I wouldn't know what to do with it. And the thing about a weapon though, like having it for an intruder is like, you hope to intimidate them. I don't think snakes look at guns and be like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to actually hit it if you're going to shoot at the snake. Shovels are better, shovels and hose, and you just decapitate the rattlesnake. But then don't touch its head, because if it's like coming at you, its fangs are charged and ready to go. And that like crazy muscle, it'll still bite you even if the head has been chopped off for like 20 minutes.
So like that's a part of the reason why I don't think we need those creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we don't, if they can still bite you and hurt you. Yeah, exactly. They don't have hands to put up, which is another thing on my list of why we don't need them. I'm sorry for all the snake lovers out there. I'm like, they're suspicious. They're like, they point one way and they move another. You can't trust anything that looks one way and then disappears off to the right, You just can't. It has no arms. I mean, it's a lizard without arms. Like, I just don't understand.
Okay.
Anyways.
We've talked for like 5 minutes about what was literally a 3-second detail in this movie.
Yeah.
The snake was not an important part of the plot. No. However, this is Hoggle. Hoggle is important. Hoggle. Okay, so I learned Hoggle is a woman in like a puppet suit, a whole body suit. And then there were like 4 or 6 puppeteers behind the scenes doing all of the various movements, like that. It was like, oh, this person was the right hand, which also had these other controls that moved the jaw, and that person did all the voicing. And then this other person was the left hand, which controlled the skin around the eyes. And they had to spend weeks like practicing together to get the hang of how other people would speak. Hoggle is indeed friend. Not yet, but Hoggle will be friend. It got my attention when she said Hogwarts, where I was like, oh, that's definitely is that where it's from? And people have speculated that maybe that's where Harry Potter's Hogwarts was based, but it's also like it comes from other former writings, so maybe she just also pulled from the same
So
thing.
Wait a second.
Yes.
To get this character to move, like this is before lots of green screen painting out.
Yeah.
So how did they get?
There's definitely like one segment in this with the puppets that throw their heads in the air. When it's the wide shot, it's like painfully green screen. Like it's like, oh, this is brand new green screen technology.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like that, from the back, it's not hard because then it's just her and it's just a full body shot. But I think when it's anything where you don't see the full body of it, that there are probably people underneath standing like in what I don't know. It's insane. Like, I don't know enough about puppeteering to have the hang of it. There's a TV show called Helpsters. It's a show for preschoolers and it's a lot of puppets. And I was a PA for a day, and I should put PA in quotation marks because I had never been a PA before. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. And then my walkie-talkie died at lunch and I didn't know that. I thought the chirping was like people joining or leaving the frequency. So the entire second half of the day, I literally didn't do anything because I never heard the calls that were like, can we get a PA over to such and such? Like, I just like watched and I observed, and anyway, but it had a lot of puppeteers involved. And so it was fascinating to just watch and these were people who've been on like Sesame Street and like Stephanie D'Abruzzo, the original Kate Monster from Avenue Q. Like just this insanely talented cast, and just seeing how they were like, oh, you can't get the shot like that. Like, that's not an option. Hello, friend. Who's in your background? Somebody wants to join the movie watching? You're muted.
Neither of us have eaten today, so he's currently delivering meal, but he's trying to stay. Right now, he's holding a bottle of sriracha and seeing if I can gauge how much I want on what he brought me. Just a freckle, please and thank you. Yeah, no, that's great.
Oh.
It's a system of measurement we use in our house. Just a freckle. You don't. That's fine. So apologies. I am eating as we talk because
that's okay.
Time disappears.
I thought that it would be fun actually to have like an eating portion of this, but then I was like, people don't want to listen.
Well, let's test it out.
Talking through, I know, right? Salad? Is that salad with sriracha?
No, this is my appetizer. Caesar salad.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying. Yeah. Did you bring enough for everyone?
Yeah.
Hassani,
come on over.
Okay, great.
Come on over.
Hop on up to Canada, Hassani. Just go straight north from where you are right now, and you'll get there eventually.
That's the same direction I give anyone in the States, regardless of where they are. I'm like, just dead north. We'll find each other eventually.
Well, he's in Miami, so I feel like that's
pretty low. What's that? The I-95? I-95 straight through. Yep.
I don't know.
Oh, the little talking worms. I mean, all of this. Like, you have to take a second, even in the conversation of puppets we were just having. And also, sidebar, you're horrible PA.
Yes.
Like, you have to acknowledge, like, these tiny little puppets, all of them require so much more than what you see, which I think is what I love about movies like this, is that in order for you to have, you have to have such a suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
In order to even engage. And if you don't have the ability to do that and enjoy things like teeny little worms.
Tiny little worms.
Giving directions about things you can and can't see.
Yeah.
They're wise. But like, that's what makes stuff like this. I love this movie because of things like that. They're little puppets.
There was I think it was a Jim Henson quote. And he said, the absolute hardest things to work with on a set are animals, babies, and puppets. And this movie has all three of them. And it was the last movie he made. So maybe he was just like, nope.
Yeah, I'm out.
I pushed myself beyond my limits.
This is it for me. This is it. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, see that line. If she had gone the other way, she would have gone straight to the castle. She always picks right. Every time that she has an option, she always picks the right side. Like when it's the two doors, she chooses the door on the right. Both times. There's like the door with the knocker.
See, this whole time I'm watching this movie, right? I'm like, question. You could see over the maze. Why don't you walk the top of it?
Yeah.
Most of the whole time I was like, you're making this look. I'm like, look at Toby there again.
What if it's one of those that like it's a never-ending wall and you tried to climb it to look over it and you would just keep climbing and climbing and like you know, like it's an optical illusion that it's not very tall.
Maybe. Okay.
It's possible. Who knows?
It would have been. Can you imagine being on this set though, with all these little puppet goblins? Like I would never leave. I would never leave. It would
be insane. Like just the number of people on screen. So then how many people do you think there were behind the scenes?
Thousands.
And how do you, like what I learned from fake PAing with helpsters was like that they're even like, they're camera operators that are like specifically awesome at filming puppeteers because like they just get the hang of how it works and they know the angles and they know how to like set up the shot so that the puppeteer isn't just, you know, miserable.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like, so I have this dream that one day I'll be able to own a house that is large enough to have a room that is my Imaginarium.
Ooh.
Which isn't a place you can't, I won't take my laptop in. It will be a room without a phone, without a laptop. Yeah. It will just be like all of the little monsters and gremlins and things that I've collected over time. Like, I would love one of these Muppets. Yeah. You know, and just like a room that is like, there's a big couch that's like red and polka dotted and the walls are wallpaper. And it's just like a trip. But it's a place you go in just to sort of be creative and be a kid. as a
Yeah,
grown-up.
yeah.
That's at the top of my list of things I need in a house I own.
That sounds amazing. So apparently, in the process of getting ready for this film, a Hoggle puppet was lost in transit on the airline. Like the suitcase it got sent the wrong place. It turned up at an unclaimed baggage in Alabama, and now it's on display in their museum. I was like, that's like the person who opened the suitcase was like, ah! Oh,
Can you imagine like, having to scan that? Just imagine that going through an X-ray, and you're like, like you have to open it. It looks like a body, albeit a strange one, but a body nonetheless.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Also, David Bowie's dance moves like every white guy at a country bar.
Whoa, okay.
It's just elbows.
My thought while I was watching this was like, wasn't he like a sex icon? Like how?
It's all in the elbows, Rebecca. The 80s were all about elbow sex.
Yeah. I was like, he might dance worse than me, and that's not easy.
All he's missing is the finger pointing.
Yeah. Hey. Oh my gosh. Okay, so would you call this a musical though, or is this a movie that has some songs in it?
If we were to decide that a musical was a story that had music to move the story along, this is not a musical.
Yeah.
Because these songs don't
they
don't do anything other than entertain through and through.
Yeah.
Oh. Movie. It's a movie that has some songs. Thank you.
No, I like that it's music that also has songs.
A music that also has some songs. Movie. If a musical is a show or movie that has songs that move the story along, great.
Yeah.
If it's a movie that has just songs in it, then it's not technically a musical. But like, if anyone goes into a performance in a movie, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna be like, this is my jam.
Okay, so would you say then something like Once, where there are songs, but it's not like they acknowledge that they are singing, and I think to some extent they do move the story. Like to me, Once is a movie with music. It is not a musical because the characters don't just like burst into music spontaneously.
But in that show, the music is a part of the story.
Definitely.
So I would put it in the category of a musical because without the music, the story would be empty.
Yeah.
Even though it's not the traditional like Sondheim, everyone sings their feelings.
I'm so emotional. I have to break into song.
If you took the music out of Once, it would just be two people and like their monologues.
Yeah. It would be a sadly married woman and a guy who fixes vacuums.
Exactly. And like maybe he owned a guitar he never touched. So yes, this movie, no, maybe not technically traditionally a musical. Does it have all of the things that I want to watch in a movie? Yes. So I will call it a musical because I love musicals. If I'm allowed to make the rules.
This might be an opinion you're not fond of. I don't generally like movie musicals. Like I love a good stage musical. Movie musicals, I'm just kind of like, Once is my exception. I adore Once. I think it is one of my favorite musicals of all time. Like I haven't seen it on stage, but the cast recording I love, and then the movie I'm like obsessed with. But pretty much any other movie musical, I'm just like,
I get it. I mean, I love all forms of musicals, but I understand the appeal of musicals being live, and that's because you get to experience it with other people, because the experience of music is so emotional, right? So when you're sitting in a crowd of people and you're all in the music and you're all sort of feeling it and it's all a part of an experience, it's much more effective than when you're sitting by yourself at home.
Oh, that's great.
I will cry. Like I watched The Prom, the movie, and I cried.
Oh.
I always cry in musicals. They really get me.
That's awesome. No, that's good. I love things that can make me cry. I always finish it and I'm like, thank you for making me cry. I don't say that to people very often, but you know. Okay, wait. So the I missed this. I told myself that I was going to pay attention to this and I didn't. The 4 guardsmen that were in that last little scene, they were puppeteered, but not voiced by the puppeteers who did Gonzo. That puppeteer did a ton of the big roles in this movie. The puppeteer who did Kermit after Jim Henson died, and the puppet who did Elmo, maybe still does Elmo, actually. I was like, those are some VIP puppeteers.
Yeah.
And they pop in. They're like, I'll be one of the 4 guards. I mean, I think they also have other roles in this. A lot of puppeteers like multitasked.
Yeah.
You know?
Wasn't there a lot of controversy behind the Elmo puppeteer?
Oh, was there?
I mean, I don't want to say it if I'm wrong, but I feel like there was an Elmo puppeteer that got in trouble for getting a little too friendly with some of the audience members.
He has been, according to the Hollywood Reporter in 2014, he's been cleared of 3 charges of sexual abuse. I mean, you know, and he owes $100,000 to Citibank, according to 2019. Okay, well,
it's not great for Elmo. Not great for Elmo.
Not a good look.
Is that the guy that was a guard?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Not a great end to that story. So you're welcome for that being just a little piece of trivia I had.
Okay, so that makes a decent little segue into, I like to, with the movies, figure out, like, does it pass the Bechdel test? And how does it do as far as diversity goes? And, you know, when it's an old movie, like, we kind of expect them to be train wrecks, right? But I think it's worth looking at anyway. This movie does technically pass the Bechdel test, but barely. And it's not because of the stepmom, because the stepmom actually mentions you should be dating. So I was like, well, I think that counts. I think that counts as like talking about men, you know, that it's like it couldn't just be a moment between them. It had to include other men. But it passes because the junk lady is a woman and they talk and they don't talk about men. So it scrapes by the skin of its teeth. And then as far as diversity goes, it's literally just David Bowie. He is all of the diversity that is represented in his,
but
you know.
I mean, how do you do tests like that for movies that are 70 to 80% non-human?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some of actually, the Elmo puppeteer is a non-white person. A non-white person? Is that a weird thing to say? I don't want to put labels on other people, but he's not white. He's a person of color. Sure. Yes, David Bowie and his bulge both represent diversity.
But like Hoggle is a woman, no?
Yeah. Well, and that's okay. I looked at that too. So of the voice credits on Wikipedia, there are 31 voice credits for puppets. 2 of them are women. It's literally the junk lady and then one of the puppets in the giant room full of puppets. And then, so that's 6.5% of the puppet voices that are women. And then there are 61 puppeteer credits. It's a little harder to tell their gender because a lot of them have like Jan could be a guy. There's a couple names, and there's not like a Wikipedia page where you can look them up easily, but it was about 13. So like 21% of the puppeteers, I think, are women. But the overall, all of the credits between human actors, puppeteers, and voice actors, 100 total slots to be filled, and 22 were filled by women. And behind the scenes, between producer, writer, story writer, director, music, cinematography, editing, all men. I think 2 women had a hand in revisions of the draft, but they weren't credited. So,
it's the 80s. And that's our history, you know? That's the thing we still face in these conversations now. But arguably, not that it makes an excuse for it, but 22 isn't bad.
Yeah, it's like the overall numbers.
1983.
But it's most of them are like, this woman was the right hand of this puppet, but she didn't have a voice. She was just the hand, you know, so it's like, at least they're there. At least they're getting work. That's something.
Literally the right hand.
Prince. Yeah, Prince was one of the people in the running to potentially play The Goblin King. He was very excited about Sting. Jim Henson really wanted Sting. Mick Jagger was also considered, Michael Jackson, Kevin Kline. Before they were like, we should go with a rock star, they were like, maybe Kevin Kline. But then his kids were like, you need to use David Bowie. Like, he's huge right now and he would be perfect for it. And he was like, okay. And so they pitched it to him and he said yes. He really wanted to make a kids movie. I don't know why,
And
but he did.
Did he make a kids movie?
He tried. The effort was there.
I always, every time I watch this, I actually imagine Prince. I think Purple Rain. Every once in a while, I'm like, could have worked. I could have worked in this.
Yeah, Prince would have been better at the dance moves, not making you go, oh, oh, what's happening?
What? What is happening in your tights? Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Kevin Kline. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, what? Why not? Why not?
Why not? Oh God, so good. Honestly, the blouse like leather jacket combo has never been recreated in such an effective way. Great clock.
Oh, and it's a 13-hour clock. That was relevant because midnight to 1 a.m. is like particularly keen for like paranormal activity. So that way you got the midnight to 1 a.m. both whatever turns of the clock. There was like a whole thing about, oh, in this type of world, this is how time, and I was like, this is way, it got into like major like metaphysical, how does time, and I was like, I don't understand how time works. I can't read this. Like, my brain is like, ow. I'm just working to understand this movie, okay? Baby steps.
And yes, I agree. We have to watch In and Out. In and Out is a classic Kevin Kline.
Oh,
have you seen that one?
It's been a long time. What is that? Where he's gay or he's not gay or he's in and out of the closet, essentially?
I believe that it was, yes, that is the log line of the movie.
I think so. Or did you ever watch Mr. Wrong?
No.
Ellen DeGeneres' last ditch attempt to try to pretend she was straight. It was a movie about a woman who was just very sweet and funny, and she just couldn't find the right man for some reason. And then she does in the end, and you're like, that's not how this movie ends. Like,
oh my God, Stevie Nicks would have been so good as the Goblin Queen.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would have.
Can we remake it? Is it too late to remake this? How would you feel if we remade a 2021 version of it?
I would only be mad if the puppets were changed.
Okay, we'll use the exact same puppets. We would have to find them all because I assume that they ended up as like.
Well, I know where one of them is in Alabama,
yeah,
so
in Alabama.
We know where to start.
You're gonna have to get it from the unclaimed baggage museum, though, and I bet they have pretty strict security. I want to know what else is.
What else is there? Like, what else is at the Unclaimed Baggage Museum? And why doesn't Alabama have anything else to make a museum about? Are they running out of history?
You never know what you'll find, according to their website. Shop now.
Oh, what can you buy?
What? Experience the thrill of the hunt from the comfort of your own home.
Yikes.
You're going to be open again soon. Oh, they are open. Good Lord. That's amazing. Oh, they're all about giving, serving, and supporting sustainability. That's part of their company's DNA. Okay. I don't think this is a company that sells suitcases. This is not. That's amazing. Don't choke on your salad. Liz says, I'm out, but I'm in for the movie. Yeah, you are, Liz. Oh, here we go. Scottsboro, Alabama. Wow, there's a giant rattlesnake skin. Oh, no, a boa snake skin.
At this museum?
In a frame at this museum, yeah.
I mean, it was in someone's suitcase. And
is
like
this stuff?
I'm not gonna.
Oh. So it doesn't matter where you are. I guess anywhere in the U.S., if your baggage goes unclaimed for 6 months, they send it to Scottsboro, Alabama.
Can you imagine? That's what you get to be known for.
There's a whole like shopping, like you can just go shopping. Like they have it looks like a Goodwill. An unclaimed head. It's a painting, it looks like, of John the Baptist. Okay. Unclaimed headsets, like phone headsets. Pencil-headed head of Andrew Jackson. What? A frogmire. Oh no, these are just other things near Scottsboro. That's amazing. Well, it looks like Hoggle is like the most impressive item on display.
I'm surprised that they didn't like turn this into like a reality TV show, like the Storage Wars, Baggage Wars. You get to lift it up, see how heavy it is. That's it.
Yeah. No, what's the one where they auction off storage unit? Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Storage Wars? Oh my God. I was like, no, wait, but what's the one that's just like that? But I don't know the name of it. Oh, because you just said it. I'm okay.
No, that's okay. Just imagine people auctioning for these bags, hoping that they've got good stuff in them.
That'd be amazing.
Be a good show. Like, I mean, I would watch it, you know?
Well, because at least then you would have you'd have something to go on, right? Storage Wars, it's like they open it and maybe there's just like a mattress and you can't see anything behind it.
Yeah, but people
and you're like, okay, but it's a nice mattress. So that's promising. So what's behind it? As opposed to it's like, oh, it's a Louis Vuitton suitcase. Yeah, that's probably, and then you open it and it's just like Hoggle the puppet. Probably.
Do you think Hoggle has traveled in a Louis Vuitton suitcase?
Probably. I mean, so.
I feel like he was probably in a crate.
Oh, Liz's old production company said she said they would probably jump all over this luggage show. But we just have to make.
They need to go to Alabama.
Wait, I know, right?
I mean, the doubling up that could happen with these shows, like that show of Border Wars.
I don't know that one.
There's Border Wars? What's it called?
I've heard of that. That sounds familiar.
Well, it's like the reality TV show about the people that work at the border and all the things they come across.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just like start making multiple seasons of, stuff that happens within an airport. Maybe not right now. Yeah. Not a great time for airports. But when it's back.
It's in the US, it's fine. Not because it's safe, but because we've just decided that it's fine. So we're just doing whatever we want, apparently.
Cool.
Oh.
Well, the borders are still locked. So
yeah, I know. Lucky for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting into Ludo now. Ludo, this costume originally weighed over 100 pounds. And the puppeteers came back and they were like, absolutely not. So they went and they did more work and they came back and it was still 75 pounds. So there are actually 2 actors inside of that costume because it would basically be physically impossible for one person to do it alone. It's like, that's insane.
And they're upside down.
And yeah. Just, keeping it fresh.
And these guys, so good. I mean, just think about sitting in the development room of this movie. Okay, listen, there's a hedge, right? And then there's these little skeleton dinosaurs, right? They're like are you with me?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're with me? Great. Thanks, Jim. Here's all the money. This looks like, what year did the Neverending Story come out?
Ooh.
Because this character looks a lot like a version of the Luck Dragon?
Oh, 2 years before this. Same year as Gremlins.
It's just so good. I mean, even the little details. I know it's ridiculous. But I would put him in my Imaginarium. The idea of an Imaginarium actually came from walking through the museum. Well, no, it was twofold. The guy that made all the aliens, like the actual manufacturer of the aliens for the movie's Aliens, movie Aliens. So
Yeah.
there was this piece done on him and how he kept a lot of the pieces that he'd made, and he put them in his backyard in his garden. So when people went into his house, when you walked through the garden, you're like walking past all these sci-fi creatures sitting in a rose bush. I was like, how cool is that to just like open up a space and walk into it? It just feels like you're inside a series of weird imagination things.
Yeah. Well, just to have a space where that's dedicated to like, these things remind me of this other thing that brings me joy. Why not? Shouldn't we all have something like
Yeah.
It's just your little joy room. I like Blind Bug on YouTube says if we did a modern version with Lady Gaga and then Little Monsters, that's fun. I can see that. That would sell tickets for sure.
That would sell tickets. It would sell tickets.
Yeah, the Stevie Nicks one, I don't know that would. There's definitely a specific audience for that one, but
yeah, we would be making a second cult hit of the same movie.
Yeah, we'll remake this and The Dark Crystal.
Yeah,
and we'll pit women against each other again.
Yet again,
because that's what we love.
I just think this would have been so fun as Jennifer Connelly. Can you imagine getting to shoot this as like I think she was 16?
Yeah,
that would have been a blast.
It'd be amazing. It's like, oh, just interact with all these amazing toys and like
and
just
puppets
cool
and just
stuff.
Imagine, use your imagination. I'd be like, trust me, my imagination cannot come up with the stuff that you've presented me with.
Yeah. I feel like I could never be an actor that they're just like, great, that green screen is this insane thing. Now react to it, or like, this tennis ball is a dragon breathing fire at you. And it's like, okay, I can think how I would react if a dragon was breathing fire at me, but I don't know what it's actually going to look like. So then you see the finished take and you're like, oh, my reaction is not accurate to what actually was like. Yeah.
The first movie I directed I did all the things that they tell you not to do, not unlike Jim Henson. I had pets, I had a child, and I had visual effects and animation.
Nice.
And so I'm working with this kid.
The CBC?
Yeah. So it's on CBC. Okay. It's called Plush. It's 90 seconds. But the little girl had to play with imaginary pets. Yeah. That I was drawing. Like I'd actually already drawn them I did not draw them. Ambrose did. But they were already conceptualized when we went in. And thank God my producer brought her dog, because I had struggled so hard to articulate that's not how you pet an imaginary dog. Because when you think about petting a dog, right? It's almost like you forget how to do things. Yeah. And like poor Stella, who was just incredible, kept petting. First of all, she had to hold a cat. At one scene, she's holding a cat. She kept holding it like this. And I was like, we need to remember. So we put a tennis ball. We put a tennis ball in her hands. And then like the fun thing we had was we couldn't get her to loosen her grip on the imaginary cat. So we just wrote in after the fact that the cat is getting squeezed. So you see that sort of like, but it was so hard for me to articulate as a director, how to imagine something that wasn't there. So I can't imagine filming whole movies on these big green screens in the little ridiculous dot suit that shows every wrinkle in your body. And trying to take yourself seriously. And, that's why they make all that money, I suppose. I would do it. I would imagine something.
Yeah. If somebody was like, here's a ton of money, will you make this movie? I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to be good, but then I can use that money to make something that actually will be good later.
Yeah. Please pay me.
So how did that, speaking of good transition, how did that short film come about? Was that just your own idea? Like, what happened there? Tell me all about it.
So I have been collaborating with a writer for a number of years. His name's Charlie Hamilton. And he had been approached by a team called Blink Twice, who were making, they were all actors, and in their spare time, they were making 1-minute short films. And the only criteria was that it had to have a misdirection to it. So the story had to be moving in one way, and then 30 seconds in, it had to twist. So Charlie wrote 2 1-minute films, and I produced them. I worked with this team, and then I sort of got thinking about how effective if you can tell a story in a minute, that's amazing.
Impressive.
You know,
Yeah.
like you get beginning to end in under 2 minutes, and I thought of it as such a great challenge. So I just sort of sat down one day. I was thinking about things that are shocking. And it just sort of came to me, this idea of a little girl. And originally she was playing I'm going to spoil the movie for everybody here, but originally she was playing in her house with her dogs, real dogs.
Mm.
And then her mom comes home, and I knew that we would spin out of the room. When we came back, she was an old lady, and it was all in her head. Truth be told, I thought of taxidermy first, right out of the gate. That was my first thought. I don't know why, but I had originally written it to be almost more horrific than it was. A little bit more graphic. And then as I developed it, it started taking on a little more meaning in and around the world of dementia and challenges people who struggle with memory loss face in terms of being cared for and how people talk to them. And it developed out, but it genuinely came from just the challenging myself to write a 1-page story that had a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
That was it. And then I got really, really lucky. It was an incredible process. I met with Ambrose, who is an animator in Los Angeles, and he was at school and he needed to practice. And so we were able to do that together. And we sat at Walt Disney's table in his favorite pub, and we worked there. And yeah, it was really neat. It was a really cool movie to make. No puppets, though. I really missed out on the puppets part.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's still time.
Oh,
You've
the
got
fire
a
dance.
whole career ahead of you.
The fire dance.
Yes. So these are so look the wide shot where it's
This green screen's not great.
So yeah, it's like, hey guys, there's this new technology called green screen. You want to try it and see what happens? They're like, yeah. I like though that they're not forcing her to stay there, right? Like she could just run away.
But wouldn't you stay?
I mean, it would be hard to leave. But what I love is that she throws all their heads away and then runs. She's like, fuck all y'all. I'm going to tear
Look at
you
the eyes.
apart.
Look at the eyes on these creatures, though.
Yeah, the eyes are
like the whole, like when you look at them up, they're
terror.
so detailed.
And they're all different. Like it seems like or at least they're just lighting up different. That part is fun. That reminds me of Beetlejuice.
Oh God, I could never watch that movie.
What?
That movie terrified me as a kid.
Really?
Terrified me.
But you loved this. I mean, I guess it makes
sense. It makes sense. I think it was as soon as the parents died, I was like, I can't do this. That's too close. And my parents are alive. I was just like, I can't watch a movie. When Winona Ryder dies. I was like, but what if that happens?
She dies in Beetlejuice?
Isn't that the whole story of Beetlejuice?
I don't think she dies.
No, the parents die.
They're not her parents. She's part of a new family. Catherine O'Hara is her mother, and they buy this house that Gina Davis and is it Alec Baldwin that they used to live in?
This is how much, as soon as someone died, I was like, I'm out.
I think it's Alec Baldwin. Wait, let me see. Yeah, so they drive off a bridge and they die, but they don't think that they died. So it is Alec Baldwin. So they just go home. And then these people show up, like it takes them a while to figure out they're dead. And then they call it, and then Beetlejuice is this whole other like figure who I guess gets introduced because they're dead. Like he has like an in between the afterlife and the whatever. But Lydia is the name of Winona Ryder. I know that because of the musical. But she is able to see them, and she's the only living person who can see them. But yes, there is a death right at the top, a double death. So that's not wrong. I like that they keep dancing and shaking their hips, even though their heads have been thrown off.
Like snakes, not to bring it back, but I'm just saying.
Oh, call back. I mean, we did talk about snakes for a long time, so I feel like at this point we have to keep hitting it.
Can you imagine the sparkle cleanup on this set?
There's still sparkles there.
I'm sure Jennifer Connelly is still pulling sparkles out of her hairline after this movie.
I was literally going to say exactly that.
I still find sparkles from when I was a dancer at 8. I'm like, is this been in here for 20 years? Really? Like
the joys of curly hair.
Yeah. Wow.
So George Lucas produced this film, and apparently he and Jim Henson were best friends, and George Lucas did not take any press opportunities. He didn't do any interviews or anything because he wanted Jim Henson to really get the spotlight for this. Which I was like, that's cool.
That's nice.
Other fun fact, there were 2 video games based on this. Hassani, do you know anything about these video? I feel like you would know these video games because I know that you love this movie and I know that you know video games at least. But they both came out the exact same year. I think one was Nintendo and one was like a computer game. And they sounded cool. Like it was like travel through the labyrinth. Video games. He said, say it again. I don't know. But this movie was not a critical success. So I don't imagine that the video game flew off the
This
shelf.
would probably be a fun video game. I would rather go to this theme park ride myself.
I would just go to this theme park. Just make it like it's literally the labyrinth and you have to actually travel through it. Okay, the bog of stench. When I found this very funny. There's a part later where like when it bubbles up, it like bubbles at a certain speed and then it vibrates like twice as fast. And for some reason I was like, oh, that was too much.
That crossed the line. That crossed the line.
Inspiration. I was like, no.
No. Also, the word bog is
Bog.
it's a lot for me. You know what I mean? Like it makes me think of the smell.
It does. What is the actual a wet, muddy ground too soft to support a heavy body?
A bog.
It's kind of like a swamp, but less water.
Hoggle, no. Oh God.
No! Oh, Ludo. Save the day. So when this film had its royal premiere, Prince Charles was the only one who laughed at this scene. And apparently he met Jim Henson later and he was like, that was funny.
When they fell?
No, the farting bog. It's like, oh my God. It's amazing.
I mean, that makes it all worth it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can make royalty laugh.
Yeah.
With fart jokes, then I feel like
with
you're doing
fart jokes. Either that or it really gives you a sense of the quality of storytelling happening inside the palace.
Yeah.
This is peak. This is peak in there. Yes. Wow.
And then this falls into the guy who wrote it. This falls into like the common Monty Python bit of like this incredible struggle to be able to pass. And then ultimately he's just kind of like, oh,
yeah,
go ahead. Like the same bit played out in a different variety of ways.
Yeah, Terry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch Monty Python growing up?
Not really.
Wow.
I love Spam-A-Lot musical. I love the music. When I saw the actual show live, I was it was like I'd already seen the whole thing in my head and there weren't really any surprises that.
Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah.
Have you seen The Meaning of Life?
I don't know that I have seen that.
Have you seen The Life of Brian?
No.
Okay, Rebecca, listen. I just need you to start a list because I'm sure I can come up with 52, one per week for the next year.
Oh,
you have to watch The Meaning of Life. It is a movie with music in it also. And I'll give you a little insight. There's a song about condoms.
Oh.
And I say it like that because that is how they say it. And it goes something like this. Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is good. Okay. It's being sung by a family that doesn't use condoms because they believe every sperm is sacred. And then contributing to that is the neighbors, the Protestants across the road that got the condoms. It's a little tidbit for you. That was my little trailer for you to go and watch the movie.
Okay, I can't wait. It
Yeah.
sounds not at all like a movie that I would want to watch, but I'll watch it for you. Monty Python's hit or miss for me. Like a lot of that kind of humor, I have to be in the right mood for it. There's a lot of British humor too that people are like, this is the greatest thing ever. And I watch it and I'm just like, I get why you're saying that. I do not relate.
So in the house I grew up in,
Uh-huh.
my dad and I share a very similar sense of humor. My mom and my brother, however, don't get it. And
Not
so
so
we would watch all these movies and the two of them wouldn't breathe through most of it. They would just be dead silent. Whereas my father and I are in tears laughing, like at Monty Python. Like Lauren Elliott, he's a Canadian comedian that my dad and I just used to cry like pains. Like we went and saw him live and we were in tears and my mom and my brother were asleep in a public place.
Yeah. It also depends on my mood because there's a lot of stuff that like, if it, like a lot of like Will Ferrell and Adam McKay kind of movie where it's like just goofy. What's the race car driver one?
Talladega Nights.
Yeah, Talladega Nights. Like that's one that it's like.
I feel like I came up with that too quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see the grin on your face. You're very excited. Like if I'm in the right mood for that, it's great, and I will laugh my ass off and have a grand old time. And if I'm not in the mood for that, it is the most frustrating, annoying.
Totally.
Like,
I feel that way about Adam Sandler.
Boy comedy. Oh, see, yeah, Adam's. Yes, I would agree with you. I'm conflicted with Adam Sandler because his comedy stuff, like. I have loved like I grew up just loving like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore. Then he did like all his movies with Drew Barrymore and I was on board for all of those. But then his most critically acclaimed movies, Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems, both of those I like viscerally hated.
I didn't watch them.
I can tell you they're well done. I understand why they got so much praise, but there were just enough elements about them that I was like, no, you don't get to string me along with a character I don't like the entire movie. And then finally at the last second, I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you just make me hate everything about the movie. Like
there was a kids movie he did that I hated. It was like Click or something.
Oh, was that the remote control one?
Yeah, there was this period where he has gone from his traditional Happy Madison movies to like Click, and then he got into the Uncut Gems and all those. And like I appreciate any actor that can be versatile in being both comedic. Ryan Reynolds. I appreciate a Ryan Reynolds. I'm just gonna say it. But the thing about Adam Sandler for me is like he's just always going to be the 90s Adam Sandler in my mind, like all of the original, like, you know, so it's hard for me to watch this stuff and find it funny now. But
there was a whole, I think it was a thread on Reddit probably talking about Adam Sandler. And like somebody was just like dumping on him, like these two movies were good and all the rest of them suck. And the person was just like, look, he knows the kind of stuff that he likes to make. He makes it on a consistent basis. His movies make money. His audiences are happy. He gets to pay all of the people who help make the movies. Like, I think he is like the ultimate like product to come out of Saturday Night Live, where it's like people are always like, Saturday Night Live sucks. It used to be good, but now it's terrible. It's like, no, there's just like, it's just a very specific thing. And you liked it when you were at the age where you related to the stuff they were talking about. And now it's not your thing, and that's fine, but they know what they're doing. They're, you know,
it's if an actor's working and they're making stuff and there's an audience for it, I think that's great. Where I start to get frustrated is in the remakes of things that we already know. Like, I think the Marvel movies are amazing. I personally don't need to see 14 movies and a TV show and all of these fictional characters. There are so many stories in this world to tell.
Yeah.
That, you know, those ones I just don't completely understand. I'm going to get one of these things for my dog. These these carriers. I don't know what I'm going to put in it, but
saddle.
Yeah, I'm going to strap my nephew to it. That's what I'll do. That would be great.
Perfect. Why not?
I mean, my dog is full, like all forward motion, no brakes. So someone's going to need a helmet.
Hold on tight.
Did he give her an apple? It's a peach.
It looks like it's like a peach. Yeah, okay. But this is a magical peach.
Yeah.
Jared,
She never watched Snow White?
What's that one? No. I'm familiar with Snow White. It's been a very long time since I've watched it, but I have seen it.
But you do recall the general premise of the movie.
Plot, yes, is familiar. Once Upon a Time, isn't that the whole series that's sort of a spin-off of?
Yeah, which was really cool for a couple episodes, and then I stopped caring.
Same. I loved the handful of episodes I watched, and then for whatever reason, I didn't make a conscious choice to stop watching. I
was kind of the same. I was like, I loved seeing modern day takes on the old stories, and then when the story took off into what it became, I was like, yeah, I'm all right.
It became its own unique thing. Yes, don't eat fruit, kids.
Do you think those are David Bowie's hand?
No, I was gonna say it's a juggler. So in all of those scenes, like later, he's sitting in a chair like this, like so the shot is kind of like this, but there's like something sort of here, and so his arm is actually like this, and it's somebody else's arm like this.
Can you imagine the stories that juggler has? Oh yeah, you ever been inside David Bowie's armpit?
Yeah. One time I just had David Bowie sit in my lap while I juggled balls in front of him.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I played with David Bowie's balls on camera. See? Now that is how you enter into a conversation at a bar.
That would be a great intro. Hi, Nikki. Welcome. Sorry, Nikki joined us. She's one of our regulars here on Twitch.
What's up, Nikki?
She has to go work on her coursework because she's a good, diligent student.
Good for you.
Hassani had that as the one bit of trivia. So there's what is the movie? Not Divergence. It's an old timey movie, and a little kid plays banjo, but he doesn't. It's because the kid didn't know how to play banjo. So the actual professional banjo player who recorded the audio came in, and they used his left hand, but they set it up. They set it up at an angle so that the left hand was farther away from the camera, so you couldn't tell that the left hand was significantly larger than the right. So the left hand was doing the correct things, and he was just strumming. And then they just covered up the audio with the real banjo audio.
It's outrageous. The magic of movie making. After watching this scene as a kid, as a child, I always wanted puffed sleeves.
Puffy sleeves. Well, that was all the rage in the 80s.
And
the bigger, the better. The tighter the sweater.
Did you notice on when he took his mask down, there's a tiny hand holding the mask?
I saw that. That was awesome. I was like, I want a mask that's like that. That's a tiny hand. It's like the Kristen Wiig sketch where it's like four sisters and then she has baby doll hands and she's like, and I'm Irene and I ate a squirrel. Is that bad?
Yeah, it's so good.
I refer to this scene in my head as the Stockholm Syndrome soiree. And all I can think is like, what in the actual fuck is this? She's 16 years old. Is she supposed to be falling in love with him? Like, why?
I know. Stockholm Syndrome soiree. Yeah, no. What's our goal here? What is this scene telling us? Well, it makes me think of Eyes Wide Shut, which isn't great. It's not, and that wouldn't have made me think of that in the 80s because that movie wasn't around. Anytime I see a ball like this, I'm like, yikes. Yikes, everybody. Tom Cruise is here. And like, why didn't she get a mask, But also like Commedia dell'arte, like that kind of performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure why
the choreographer is in this scene somewhere. I felt like that was a really unimpressive bit of trivia, but the internet was like, this is cool, isn't it? I was like, there's like 1,000 people here. If you don't put the choreographer in there, like, why?
You know what I think really needs? You know what I think needs? Yeah, it's this point where you're like, what's happening? What's happening?
Mm-hmm. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So what I read is there was an earlier draft where his character was actually like very kind and likable. So the segue into this at least made some sense. Like it's still creepy and inappropriate, but at least it's like, oh, he's a nice guy. And now but he drugged her. Like, I don't know. Nothing about that. I was not okay with his entire scene. I was like, this is not.
It's a little date rapey. It's a little like sponsored by roofies.
Yeah, 100%. Sponsored by Roofies and Pedophilia.
Yeah. Yikes.
The Stockholm Syndrome Soiree. Sponsored by...
Stockholm Syndrome Soiree is so good. And like, look,
Thank you.
like, where's she? What's happening? Great dress, though.
Yeah.
Oh, she's in Chicago.
Very cinder. No, it's the bean. No, it's the outside of the bubble that she's inside of. See, and now she's broken gravity somehow.
I'm here for it.
Now we're an hour and 10 minutes into the movie, and we are finally going to hear the third female voice of the entire film.
Stand by, everybody.
Third and final. Because the other woman's voice is just one of the group puppets, and you can't really, it's not like, oh, there's her voice. It's like, oh, she's just one of the puppets screaming. Nikki says, careful, we're going to get Labyrinth canceled. We're just holding it accountable, Nikki.
We're just saying it out loud that scene could probably be removed and no one would notice.
100%. Yeah. Like, did it forward the story? Did it help at all? Like, no.
No, it did not.
There's nothing. She's not suddenly like, oh, actually, he's a good guy. And he also doesn't feel that way.
No, we almost feel even more horrible about him.
Yeah. We hate him more. Significantly more. I did really appreciate that. I loved the way that they like worked in the lessons she needed to learn over the course of the film. And like some of them were obvious. So there's like the save the cat method, right? Where it's like within the first X amount of time, one character needs to say to the lead character exactly what lesson they need to learn and will eventually learn in the course of this movie. And I think it's actually Hoggles says, like you have to let go of the way that you think things are, or you don't value I don't remember what the words were exactly. But it was nice, like the subtle way, like that this scene is all about, oh, you value your things. You think those are the most important things. And then she's forced to be like, no, actually, I don't care. I'm going to go back and save my little brother. Oh, and there's nuggets all over her room. Like her stuffed animals are similar to a lot of the puppets, like Ludo and Hoggle. Supposedly, some of these stuffed animals look like
yeah,
them.
it's right there. It's right there on the little pedestal. Ludo.
Oh, yeah. Now I see it. And then by her mirror, it might have only been earlier in the movie, there were newspaper clippings that were apparently, this is not told in the movie. This is like, you have to know the background information about it, apparently. It was clippings of her mother with an actor who looks just like Jareth, the Goblin King, and her mother ran off with him and left her family behind. And like, that's the story of how they disappeared.
I love shit like that. I love it because all of a sudden you're like, well, shit, Rebecca, how much time you got? Because we're going to have to go back to the beginning.
I know, because then it's like, oh, that makes her relationship with this creepy dude that much more weird, that it's like, oh, she's holding all this shit against him, that it's like, is it him? Is it the actor that is just he was cast to play the Goblin King?
Wait, here we go. We're at the mirror again.
Oh, yeah, there's the mirror. Oh, is it in the top left corner? It looked like there was something there. Oh, and then there was one other thing. Oh, where is it? Oh, I don't know what it's after. She gives her some...
top right.
Ah, yep. It's her mother and someone who looks like David Bowie. The junk lady at somewhere in the scene piles on a copy of the book, The Wizard of Oz, which is cool because this is a very Wizard of Oz story.
Mm-hmm.
And then, where is it? Where is it? It's coming. There's something I was looking for. What could it have been? Oh, look, and that's the Goblin King right there on her dresser. I didn't notice that before. There was also a draft where the junk lady was literally a puppet that was being puppeteered by the Goblin King. Which, like, I feel like they all are, so I don't know why that... Like, they kind of all are, right? They're all his minions. To go back to Despicable Me. Oh, and this music box was a gift from her mother for a recent birthday. So it's that much more significant that her mother, who ran away and left her, but gave her this present, that she smashes it because she's like, no, I want my brother.
It also looked like it was that in that music box was a little girl in a dress like the one she wore to the dance.
From the soiree.
To the Stock Syndrome soiree.
That's amazing. Oh, thank goodness.
Oh.
Okay, so here, let's do, I have some lightning round questions.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready? It's only like 5, and it's not about this movie. They're just questions for you. There's no
okay,
right
great. It's not a trivia thing. Because I can tell you straight up, I won't remember. Hit me.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm bad at that. I can do those with enough time. Okay, what's your go-to movie theater snack?
Popcorn.
Just popcorn?
Yeah.
Nothing sweet? No drinks?
Twizzlers is if I'm really feeling gluttonous, but usually just popcorn. And then I eat it like a giraffe. I'm like,
oh, with your tongue. Oh, yeah, that's the best way to do it. Until it gets too low, and then you don't have a choice. And you either drink the popcorn or you suck it up and put your hands in.
Yeah.
Liz likes hot tamales. I'm a big fan of the popcorn Milk Duds combo. Love that. I usually just get the kids pack though.
Do you put the Milk Duds in the popcorn?
Not in it, because I feel like they would all just sink to the bottom. So I'll do like a little bit of this and like one Milk Dud and like nom nom nom.
Yeah.
Bunch of crunch. What is Bunch of Crunch?
Yeah. What are snow caps?
Snow caps, I know those are like the like chocolate little like discs, but with white pastille. What are the things called? The little white balls. They're like sprinkles, but instead of sticks, they're balls.
Nope.
Chocolate with white balls on top.
Still not. Still.
Wait,
no
but I
clue.
want to know what Bunch of Crunch is. This is the slowest lightning round that's ever existed in the world. Oh, Bunch of Crunch is like clusters of Nestle Crunch.
Oh.
That's fine. I'm into that. I like a sweet and savory combination. If I'm really treating myself, I would have Dr. Pepper, but I can't do caffeine at night anymore. That's out of the question. It's absurd. Okay, where do you sit? You have your pick of anywhere in the movie theater. Where do you sit?
Dead center near the back.
Okay, great. First movie that you remember buying.
Ooh.
Like that you were like, I want to own that.
Grease. But my parents made me perform Summer Lovin' in front of a group of their friends before they'd take me to the grocery store to buy it.
Nice. Melly, cookie dough bites. It's not standard. That's definitely a newer invention, I feel like, in more recent years, but it's good. It Takes Two. What is that? I don't know what It Takes Two is. I'll look it up later. The movie. I thought we were talking about snacks still. I was like, what is an It Takes Two? Is that chocolate?
Takes Two. It Takes Two is the Olsen twins movie.
Amazing. Mine, the first one I remember buying was Titanic, and we went to the fucking like video store in the mall, and I got my name on a waiting list so that I could show up the day it came out and pick up my copy. And it was a double cassette VHS.
Yeah, I had it
at my mother's house. And I was so like, I was just so like my heart was full. Straight to the point. Wait, straight to the, what did Nikki say?
They sit in the very first seat when they walk in.
The very first seat you can find. Yeah. I like center, just center. But if there are a lot of people, then I like to be on the aisle because I want to be able to like have control over like moving and being alone if I want to. And if I see anybody on their phone, like during trailers, I will straight up walk away from them while the trailers are playing so that I don't have to move later. Cause I just assume if you don't want to watch the trailers, you're going to not stay focused on the movie either. So I'm like, just to be safe, I'm going to get the fuck away.
Good call. Good call.
Okay. What was the first movie that made you think that you either wanted to make movies or just that you could make movies, that you were like, this is a real job, I'm going to do it?
First movie I watched that made me think I wanted to make movies. Oh, it's tough because I don't think that was the way my brain went. I started in musicals and that's what I wanted to do the most. And the first musical I watched that I knew I wanted to work in entertainment was Oliver in the West End. I didn't leave at intermission. I wouldn't go out for intermission because I didn't want the magic to be over of like Oliver, because the intermission of it, and I still remember, is Oliver being chased and the whole production ends with him like at the end of the stage, like running off. And I was like, I can't leave. What's out there?
Is there a part in Oliver that you were like, I could play that part, or it was just the entire vibe?
It's just the whole entertaining
whole experience. Yeah.
experience. And so I wanted to be a musical theater performer. And so I went to school for it. And I did film all through high school too. I started working on film sets when I was 14. Just out of curiosity.
Wow. What were you doing?
Just like student stuff. Like a buddy of mine started making movies when he was 10 and I was 11. And we just hung out in high school and made feature films. Not kidding.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was always the performer. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. And then a recent movie or TV shows are fine that you've seen that you were like, I wish I made that. Like that's so up my alley.
Oh, I May Destroy You.
Oh, that was really good. Is it Michaela Coel? I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like
Michaela Cole. Michaela Cole. I believe.
Okay, Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like in some ways hard to watch, but not in the way that made you not want to come back. Like I kept wanting to come back, but I couldn't watch like the whole season in one sitting. It was like, okay,
I was the same.
Good. I'm gonna let it like soak in. I'm gonna digest it a little bit, and I will be back tomorrow. Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so perfect little segue into Pocket Film School. How did that start? How did that come about? Tell people what it is.
Yeah.
I gave like a half-baked setup of it earlier, but
I love a good partial bake that keeps it still doughy and gives me lots of opportunity. Pocket Film School sort of came out of it was originally an idea of Zach Ramlin's, who's one of my best friends. And we were all sitting in a room one day talking about how everyone goes to YouTube to learn how to make movies. And we've been making movies for years. Like, why don't we just take what we know and apply it to some lesson plans? And when we got chatting about it, like, I'm from the indie world where you got to make a lot out of nothing. And so much of being able to do that is about knowing how to be a good leader and knowing how to get people, because it's not about your actions, it's about how you make people feel. And that's just a fundamental rule about leadership. And so what I was finding was I was having a lot of success in getting people to come out and believe in the stuff we were doing. But a lot of my energy was going towards teaching people set etiquette and the things you should know. And especially people that had just graduated from film programs didn't have the basic understanding of how to walk onto a set and be a fully functioning team member, instead of like, I'm a newbie, I'm not sure what I'm doing. And so we wanted to create a program that you could have in your pocket where at any moment you could just pull it out and be like, you know, what is this? What does a cinematographer do? And you go and you'd see it, and you'd have access to our definitions. And you have access to us also. That was a huge part of it. Was that I never wanted to stop teaching, but I needed to transition myself out of exclusively producing and coaching people into more creative things that I'm excited about. And so that's really where it came from, was myself, Zach, Carl, and Gina. And Charlie actually was a part of the original creative team, came up with how we approach movies, and we just put it, I almost said on tape, imagine. The 2020
equivalent of put it on tape.
Yeah, and we just filmed over the course of 6 days. We shot the whole program. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Because I mean, it's tricky because, like, especially if you're teaching stuff in person and you find yourself teaching the exact same thing over and over again, that it's like, well, just do the video series, watch these videos, and then we'll have a 20-minute follow-up after you've watched this much. Where it's like, it would take you 2 hours to do it live one-on-one. You can be like, great, do this on your own time, and I'll give you this much time later for any questions.
And it's given me a great chance to meet talented filmmakers that just needed that little extra edge. Like I teach all the producing courses and the development courses, and a huge part of what you learn in my courses is the things that no internet search I could ever answer for me. Like what is a call sheet? And where do I find that template? How do I build a crew grid? What goes into a budget? Like, I have no idea, like what numbers. And like, I remember lying. I remember lying as a 21-year-old and saying, I know how to produce a movie, which is exactly what I did. And then I was on a feature associate producing a movie. And I was like, I don't have any idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Nobody.
See, I could have benefited from your program before I went and worked as a PA.
Yeah.
You know, like they emailed me the call sheet and I just sat there for a long time and just read, and I was like, what does all of this mean? This is insane. Like, it was like, I think I even had to email the assistant director back. And I was like, so what time do I need to be there? I was like, I don't know what any of this means. Very important question. Does your class include the information that when your walkie-talkie starts chirping, that means the battery's dying?
No, but we do have walkie-talkie etiquette, which
Okay.
usually if you can't hear people, you're doing something wrong.
Well, because in the morning, the walkie-talkies were not very active, right? Because it was one set. It was like one studio space that had like 3 different sets, and we were using 2 of them that day. So everyone was basically in the same space with the exception of some of the people who were off in the office. But most of what they were doing wasn't directly relevant to what was happening today, right? They're doing stuff to plan for tomorrow and plan for another day and to take care of finances and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so like most of it was pretty much just like, everybody's already here. We don't need to.
That must have been so annoying to hear it beeping in your ear the whole time, because it's not like it happens once an hour.
No, it did. It wasn't often enough that it chirped probably like 7 or 8 times over the course of like 2 hours, and then it just stopped because the battery died.
Well, I wasn't aware that this was something I needed to teach people, but now that you've brought it up, I'll go back to the lesson plan.
You know what? I want to help you predict all of the things people need to know. It worked out great. The executive producer of the show wrote the musical that I toured in. He created Odd Squad. He helped write the musical. So like I'd gotten to know him there. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I heard you're shooting something in New York. Like, can I just come shadow you for a day? Because I just want to learn what a professional set works like. Because like, I don't know what the difference is between like, where's the line between director and cinematographer, or director and this person, or this and that other thing. Like even like costuming stuff, where like the actor had like a fanny pack and then they called a cut and they had to move some stuff around. And so the costume people came over and they took the fanny pack from her and then went back over and they set it with all the props, the costumes and stuff. And then when we were about to start shooting again, I noticed she wasn't wearing it. And I was like, oh, should I get it or should I? And so I was like, no. And so I was like, where is the costume person? I have to find the costume. And I was like, hey, they're getting ready. She needs it. Like, you know, I was like, I'm not going to. And she was like, okay. And, you know, come to find out later, it's like, yeah, that would be bad. Don't do that. That's not your job. You don't get to touch costuming because that's like, you know, somebody got chocolate on a puppet that day because they had a chocolate ice cream thing on the lunch break. And they were like, are you kidding me? Why is there chocolate on this puppet? Like, we have to stop the entire shoot now to figure out how to get this chocolate off of the puppet. Like, oh, whoa. So yeah, it was pretty wild, but it was great. The guy, the head camera operator, I don't know what his official title would have been. But he, like, I kept watching because, you know, they have this giant thing where it's like, so there's like a big round thing that wraps around the whole camera so you can like turn it easier this way. And then there's like 2 handles and like this one controls the zoom and this one controls the focus. And there's all these buttons, right? And there's just so much happening. And I'm like, what's this? You know, I'm like a cat, like waiting to pounce on a bird. And like, he noticed that I was just like aggressively interested. And so we were on a break and he was like, come over here. And I was like, me? Okay. And I went over and he was like, yeah, so this one does this. This one does this. This is how this works. And he was like, here, take a hold of it. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I was like, okay. And so I like took it and the director was like talking through the shot with the actors. They were rehearsing some stuff. And he was like, great. So just pick somebody on set and just zoom in as close as you can and get them as in focus as you can. And I was like, okay. And so I'm like driving this like big ass, like insanely expensive camera. And I was just like, this is so cool. It was thrilling. I was like, oh, I really am Kenneth the Page. I don't even know. I just want to be on the set. Like, you want me to clean the shit? I'm on it. Can't wait.
So good. Well, you probably learned a lot. You can't learn anything until you're on set. And that's the thing that's so challenging. Of those of us that created Parker Film School, Gina's the only one that went to a formal film school. Like a production school. Like I didn't go. Carl went, I think, for like a minute. Zach never did. And so all of our skills were learned on set. And then we learned a lot of the people we were training came from film programs, and their set etiquette was just awful. And you can't learn that until you're standing on a set. And when you walk right into the union space as a PA, it's sometimes, and I've never worked in the union world, but some of it's pretty basic, and you're just sitting with a walkie beside a cone 3 blocks away from where they're actually shooting. But when you're in the indie space, you need to know what everybody does. You need to know who's moving where, why they're important. You need to know if you actually need something or not. And that took me a long time to understand, and understanding post-production, because production's only one part of the story. Yeah. So that is where it came from.
That is very cool.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that the friend you mentioned to me was Lizzie Mays, because she's already a student. She became a student last week.
I emailed her today, and I was like, here's AJ's email address. Reach out to her if you want. And she was like, great, I signed up for this one. I was like, oh, okay, cool, great.
Yeah, Lizzie, write me. You have my email. Let me know what you think. Ask me all your questions. I love hearing from people that are taking our course.
Oh, there we go. Pocketfilmschool.io. What is IO?
It's just a domain, I guess. I think when we were looking at it, it was like Pocket Film School. We didn't want to do .ca or .com because we didn't want it to look localized to America. And it was like pocketfilmschool.tv, and we were like, we don't want that. But IO made it sound cool. I don't know.
International organization.
Yeah.
Let's just decide that that's what it is.
I'm into it. I am so into it. Oh my gosh, we're coming to an end. We only have 11 minutes left.
I know, right? Okay, so what's your ideal? I know. Oh, there was a version of this too where it ended with her literally like beating him until he turned into a very small goblin. Still with a very large pouch, I assume.
His dance belt is doing wonders for his ego. Oh dear. His hair's gotten stringier.
What is your, I don't know what the like netting thing is that's coming up behind his head. Is it part of his jacket or is that his hair?
Honestly, I think we could ask questions about this forever. I feel like a jacket.
It's hard to tell. He just kept flipping his head back too hard. So they were like, we'll put a little kickstand back there.
Yeah. It's a little neck brace.
Yeah. So what is your ideal role in film production? Like what is the job title that you are most drawn to? Or do you specifically prefer indie projects where you get to be lots of hats all at once? And if so,
no, I've grown beyond that. I think one can only be multiple hats for so long before your body goes sleeping.
Yeah, remember when we used to sleep?
Important. No. Remember how people told you should sleep? Now feels like the right time. And also you sort of, I grew out of wanting to do that. My focus is no longer in indie producing. I sit more in the writing and performing. And now I really wanted to get back into being a performer and putting that energy into acting. And so I started doing that again this year. I really enjoy directing. That was something that I found to be a lot of fun, although I'm not sure I would enjoy it as much if I was directing someone else's words. So I directed something that I'd written. But I'm kind of open to whatever at the moment. I just like working in entertainment. I like telling stories. I think that we, as storytellers, have incredible responsibility to remember the world we live in and communicate it to the people that are coming. Because narrative film and documentary hold on to history in ways that books just don't for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So.
Nope. I think that's like the perfect motivation to make film and television is the stories that connect us and resonate with us and help us just deal with life, honestly. Whether it's like, oh, the whole world is on fire and everything's burning, so let's watch Labyrinth to like just hit mute on all that. Or if it's like, oh, here's like a dramatic, intense story that resonates with what you're going through and gives you hope because that person got through it.
And you see, for me, as crazy as it as ridiculous as it is, in the hardest of times, it's movies like Labyrinth that just made everything fine.
Yeah.
Because in life, there is an element of having to have a suspension of disbelief that everything's going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've always been drawn to the Wizard of Oz, the Labyrinth, the Despicable Me's, the like ridiculous, otherworldly, including costume. Everything has costume in it and music. So now you know my target.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got a list going. And if I have a project like that, I'm going to hit you up first and be like, hey, here's what's happening. We're nearly at the end of the movie. Did anything exciting happen in the last 10 minutes while we weren't talking about the movie?
Well, she got Toby back.
You have no power over me. Get it, girl.
She got Toby
there's
back.
Your mom again with
picture. There it is. We're giving it a second.
Oh, she takes it down and puts it in a drawer with. Oh, look
at
that.
See the little dancer.
The dancer
in the thing that it was her from the dance, the soiree.
Well, and she put all that stuff in the drawer. She's like, I'm moving on from my mother. So maybe this whole thing is just her like weird high dream about getting over anger and resentment of her mother and giving up hope that her mother's going to be something she can't make her be.
Yeah. I love that there's a poster for Cats
with goblins. The musical?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. That's amazing. Are those VHS tapes on her shelf or all books?
I think they're all books.
The bottom shelf kind of looks like tapes.
Gosh, I think I'm gonna grow my eyebrows out. Like, look at she's like
she's got
combed up,
a healthy full brow. Party time.
Honestly, it would have just been so much fun, and then to get to be the puppet team that gets to put little fascinators on your puppet. Come on.
I'm a big fan of logistics and puzzles and like trying to make sense of things. So like the idea of this, where it's like, okay, this puppet has 5 people behind it. This puppet is controlled from above. This puppet's controlled trying to put. I would not be qualified for that because I don't know enough about puppets. And I think you shouldn't get into puppeteering stuff unless you're like a puppeteer.
Yeah. But that goes for anything. Like you shouldn't go into being a doctor unless you've been trained. Like don't hold a scalpel if you're not sure what end is sharp, you know?
This owl supposedly was one of the first like CGI attempts at making like a very realistic looking bird in like in a movie like this. I don't know. They made it sound like it's the first time CGI was ever used in a movie, but then there were enough like for this genre and this type of salsa that I think it's really like, okay, within this very specific subcategory, it was the first time that this got used.
First CGI in a movie came in 1973 during a scene in Westworld.
What? Wait, what is Westworld from that decade?
I don't know.
I don't even know what that would be. What else? Did I have any other note? Let's see. Let's review the notes and see if there's anything else we missed. Ooh, other people who auditioned for the part of Sarah. This list was very long. This is only like half the list. Helena Bonham Carter.
Nice.
Jane Krakowski. Yeah, I know. She was one of the strong contenders for it.
Oh.
Sarah Jessica Parker. Mary Stuart Masterson. I feel like this one would have, just because of the type of characters I like her playing the most, I just see this being like an adult playing a 16-year-old in this. Laura Dern. I'm picturing like a 45-year-old divorced woman who's also a therapist.
Yeah.
But she's 16. It'd be amazing. Maybe that's the one that we do with Lady Gaga. Lily Taylor and Marissa Tomei.
Oh, Marissa Tomei would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I think Jennifer Connelly of that list. I would have been between Jennifer Connelly and Jane Krakowski for me.
Yeah, it's a competitive. I love Jane Krakowski.
So do I.
Like I liked. She was in Ally McBeal, right? And I knew of her. Like I loved Ally McBeal. I didn't particularly care for her character, but then when she was on 30 Rock, I was like, this woman is amazing. And then I saw her in She Loves Me, and she freaking blew my mind. Like on Broadway, kicking, like getting dragged around, but like she basically like, so if these are her legs, she kicks one leg way up in the air and then leans forward like she's going to fall into a split. But then her dance partner catches that front ankle and then just drags her along with the one ankle behind. It was insane. I was like, what is going on? It's like seeing Tova Feldscha and Pippin like dangling from like an acrobatic bar in her like late 60s or something. And I was like,
That's what I want to be doing in my 70s.
Seriously, like I got to start working out now if that's my goal. Oh,
I love it. I love it.
Any parting thoughts? What is
This
the
was-
lesson? What is the lesson that you take from Labyrinth? What do you hope people learn?
Just,
Nothing, just have a good time. I mean, that's also an option.
Don't attend a party if you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I
And
just
if
think
you're
that's a
16,
baseline.
Yeah,
It's a good
if you're
one.
16, don't.
Yeah, always find the adventure in getting rid of a younger brother.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for,
Be
because
careful what you wish for.
Is that supposed to be the theme?
Yeah,
Home was inside of you all along.
home is inside of you all along. There's no place like home.
Yeah.
Don't dream of something you already have. Yeah, you
There's
know,
lots of lessons.
so many lessons. We could do a whole other hour and 40 minutes of talking about lessons.
Yeah.
But most importantly,
how about next week?
let's do it. Wait, what is the list of movies that I have said to you that you didn't watch?
I know. Okay, the Monty Python ones are on my list.
Just
I may
at
not-
least.
I may not do them here, but I will. I promise I will watch them. The next time I'm like, I just want something like funny and ridiculous. I'm going to text you and be like, which one of these should I watch?
Yeah, The Meaning of Life.
Meaning of Life? Okay, I'll just do that one. And then what's the other one? Life of Brian? Is that
Life of Brian. Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right.
It's also a classic. But I like The Meaning of Life better. Controversial statement, but I said it. And I mean it. Oh my God, have you watched The Room?
No. I know. It's another one of those like you have to watch it and you have to
I saw it and the guy showed up in LA. I went to a midnight showing and the lead dude, Tommy, showed up. And the movie was supposed to start at like 11:30. And at 12:45, dude is still standing on stage talking about this movie. And all of us are like, this is cool for the 10 minutes. But it has been an hour and 15 minutes. Somebody needs to take the mic away from him. Yeah. And when he moves his head, his hair moves like it's a wig.
like a solid piece. It seems like he's less of a, I don't even know what, and more of like a performance artist. He just doesn't realize that he's a performance artist. Like that seems to be his whole thing, is just, I'm just going to make shit and be, I don't know. I also want to watch the movie about the making of The Room, but it was who's the lead in that?
The Francos.
Yeah, the one Franco brother that I
No,
don't know.
both.
He's
Aren't
got
they both
a bad
in it?
reputation, and it seems like he's done a lot of bad stuff. So my instinct is to not support his movies.
His accent
But
is
that movie's
unplaceable
good.
and vaguely European.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lizzie says we should do The Room sometime.
I'm telling you, you have to. And it doesn't have to be with me. Like, if you want to find somebody else, like, that's okay. I'll still watch.
Okay.
But like, you can't. But here's what I ask of you.
Yes.
Don't watch it ahead of time.
Really? But then I can't talk over it.
No, I know. No, I know,
Just
but you
make
will. But you will
Literally
talk
a
over it.
movie-long reaction video.
Yeah,
Just-
but or at least when you're going to do because there's no research to be done.
Yeah.
Rebecca, there's no research. You're not going to get deep into it like an IMDb, like in Wikipedia that you did for this.
Yeah.
I just need you to watch it.
Just go in blindly.
I just
Should
need you to
I-
come in unprepared. And
should I drink? Should I be in any particular state?
yeah, so
Is there
maybe we're going to flip the switch on you here. I'll
Okay.
do the research. You were not allowed to watch the movie ahead of time.
Okay.
And we're going to watch it together. Because yes, you need to be slightly drunk.
Okay.
But more importantly, it's not as funny the second time. It's always funny, but it's not as funny.
Okay. Okay.
Great. That's a date.
Yes, Lizzie agrees. Be a little drunk.
Yeah.
Nikki, I'm willing to take dumb, hilarious films, or it can be anything. This series is going to be a wide variety. Next week, this is exciting. Next week, by we, I mean, my guest is going to be Frank J. Kim. I don't know if he uses the J in casual, probably just Frank Kim in regular conversation. He is a filmmaker based in Austin. I met him through a networking event. He gave me feedback on a short film script that was just like amazing. Hassani, you're going to love this. He is a dungeon master, a dragon master. He does Dungeons and Dragons. I think Lizzie agrees because she also got feedback from him on her film. He's done stuff with Rooster Teeth related to Dungeons. I don't know what any of that stuff means. So we'll learn next week. But we are doing, where is it? A movie called The Good, the Bad, the Weird, which is a South Korean film that is he's described it as like kind of like a spoof of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it has like enough of its own unique, interesting things to make it like a really great film on its own. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's going to be really fun. That's also going to be at 8:00 Central a week from tonight. But AJ, I would love to have you come back sometime. We'll do The Room. I promise I won't watch it before then. And I'll have like a couple drinks before we start.
Yeah.
And there might be a lot of silences. Well, it's just my face reacting to the movie. And
Yeah,
I'm
like
okay
maybe this isn't a podcast. Or it is. And people have to watch the movie with it to know the silences are happening.
It'll be a bonus live stream non-podcast. And I'm good with that. I think that would be amazing.
I mean, I'm into it.
Okay, Nikki wants Taxi with Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah.
Never seen that.
I know. I'm like, I have no idea.
I only know Taxi with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I'm like, I know of the classic film Taxi. I don't know if is it like a remake of that movie?
Is it called Taxi Driver? Or just...
Oh, maybe it's, I don't know. Okay, Taxi movie.
No. I'm being told no, I'm wrong.
What the hell this is
not
about.
a remake.
There are a lot of Taxi movies, and it's very confusing. Wow, it's kind of a scruffy-haired Jimmy Fallon.
Oh dear.
And a Queen Latifah with literal rose-colored glasses on. It looks very aggressively 90s. It was made in 2004, it looks like. I don't know. I'll investigate, Nikki. Not a remake. Okay. Well, there you have it. All right. Well.
Now I'm wondering if Jimmy Fallon got a new chin.
Oh.
It looks like he's got a little
like the little chin butt?
A little nubble chin. Whatever you
Interesting.
Interesting.
He apparently bartends frequently at a bar in his neighborhood. Like he just shows up there and is like, I'm a bartend tonight.
Okay. Good for him. It's weird.
Why not? I know, right? I'm like, I want to do that. I'll show up at the bar and be like, hey, I'm going to bartend tonight. Mostly, I just need the money, but also.
Yeah, but you pay, right?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be amazing.
Hilarious.
Wow.
Well, this was an excellent use of a Thursday evening. Thank you so much for inviting me. Until the next ridiculous movie.
Yes. Come join us next week if you'd like to watch the Good, the Bad, the Weird. Should be good times.
I am genuinely curious. So I might see you there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Thank you so much, AJ.
You're so welcome. Much love, everyone.
Pocketfilmschool.io, and you can follow AJ on social media at A to the J E. It'll be on the end screen. You'll see it. All right. Good night. Mwah!